All right, welcome back, LJLs. Game 3 of the day is a bit of a warm-up act for Game 4. We've got, on the blue side, a Sengoku Gaming that looked revitalized yesterday in a pretty powerful performance, particularly looking to crash on that Diana because I just enjoy it so much. Across the board from them, our current first place team who have managed to hold their position in the standings from early weeks, Rascal Jester, the only team locked for playoffs. After this game, and it is somewhat what I've alluded to as a warm-up act, we do have the first place team in Rascal Jester taking on DFM as a clash of titans, but first, we must go through Sengoku. Melvin, what are you particularly excited about in the next few minutes?
I have predicted against Sengoku, which means, statistically speaking, it is time for them to make me very sad and beat Rascal Jester right here in an upset victory. As the team I was backing for the entirety of their very dramatic downfall from the start of this split onwards, they have had a good week yesterday. They went 2-0 in, I'm going to say, bizarre but promising fashion. We'll have to see today if they can keep that up, though, because they are against the top of competition right now in Rascal Jester. And if they can end up winning this game, then it keeps their playoff chances alive. It really, really lights a fire under CGA, who we just watched go 0-2 today, and throws everything into drama heading into our last week.
The only thing better than the middle of the pack spreading out. The rest of the pack catching up to the middle and causing a real disaster. Midnight, what are you particularly excited about as Sengoku take it to the Rascal Jester Titans?
I think the draft is going to be very interesting to me because right now Ziggs is a highly contested pick. Although admittedly it wasn't locked in last game, right? But we know that a lot of teams are putting a lot of heavy prioritization on the Ziggs, and there are ways to answer it. So the question will be then: does Sengoku let the Ziggs through? Do they ban the Ziggs? Do they keep their secret answer to it, which isn't as secret as it could be? It's not as secret as the opposing, Rascal Jester support, but are they going to have that ready, ready and waiting for them coming into this match?
That will be
I hate
the
myself too.
question.
Don't worry.
No, that's the question indeed. Is what will Sengoku try here? Because like it's all to play for. It is like the pressure is on, and it's pretty much all one sided. Rascal Jester can now relax. They have locked in playoffs, even if they, experiment and the results are poor for every game for the rest of the split. They're going to end up in playoffs no matter what. Do you think there is anything special that Rascal Jester should be experimenting with as they look to maybe become the best version of themselves before playoffs, Melvin?
I think that this game, they can kind of do whatever they want as a warm up, but more importantly for me is what they actually practice in this game for the next one. Because we have seen yesterday, both of Rascal Jester's wins, they were using this Viego top, Sejuani jungle, Yone mid, and then somewhat utility bot lane to just try and dominate their games, which they did very well. Question is, for me, if they will do that again to Sengoku and then practice it against DFM.
All right, a strong top side utilizing old technology, the double melee carry with Sejuani. Maybe we'll see them spin it to an Irelia because that's out now. And oh god, does it hurt so bad. I believe pick and bans are ready, so take it away, guys. We will go over to Rascal Jester versus Sengoku Gaming.
Let's dive in and take a look at what these teams are doing. And well, so far the Viego, that solo lane threat is banned away, as is the Diana and the LeBlanc. So nothing really surprising coming through in our early round of bans. And question: are we going to see the Ziggs? Yes or no? Quick answer.
I think yes. If it is not banned right here by Sengoku, it's going to be. And I will point out that Sengoku have chosen red side. They were the only team yesterday that chose red side, and they won on it. So we have to look right here and see if they have found something special, because one of the reasons you want red side is when you're trying to hide things from your opponent. You get that last pick, you can throw out wacky things, as they do ban the Ziggs away, meaning they have to expect the Felios Thresh, but amusingly, Rascal Jester actually picked the Aphelios portion of it first.
Yeah, they're basically saying, look, Gango, if you want this pick, you can take, the Thresh, and then something else because you've already dealt with the Varus yourself. But I actually do quite like that it forces Sengoku to take the Thresh here because you can't not lock it in because otherwise you're giving Aphelios stress to Rascal Jester. So it's quite a smart call here from Rascal Jester as Rune will get themselves the rise.
Okay, been grinding a little bit of that out in solo queue. One of those picks that hasn't performed too hot in solo queue, but generally speaking in comp has been pretty good. And one of the main reasons is because it does quite well into a lot of these melee carries, such as the Yone and the Viego. Being able to hold them still sets up for your team very nicely, and they're never able to get in range to fight you. Part of the reason why this one has come out, we'll have to see how else Sengoku want to look towards this, as it will just be the Xin Zhao locked in for the Rascal Jester team with an Orianna pairing for that mini combo.
I really do like this from the Rascal Jester. Xin Zhao for Hachimacha is more than capable in his hands as a jungler. And then, of course, he's grabbing Orianna. You can't go wrong with an Orianna there for recap. And now, Sengoku, I feel like they're kind of forced to lock in their AD carry here, but with Varus and Aphelios both off the table, they'll resort to my favorite AD carry in the game, the Jinx.
Going full hyper carry route makes a lot of sense, and now gives you the option to ban out supports that will be a nuisance for you with that Aphelios. I expect Nautilus to likely hit the ban bench. Be able to use that on the Jinx or the Rise will be an absolute issue, as it is the first ban from Sengoku. Makes perfect sense from them. And now the question is, for Rascal Jester, what are they going to look towards? Getting rid of the Volley Bear straight away. A curious one, hardly the most powerful meta pick right now, but if anything, Sengoku looking to get rid of that Leona now. Will be the Alistair instead. Fair pick. Definitely one of those two that could be an issue, especially for Rise, who is going to have to be up close and personal with a lot of these melee champions the opposition will put together.
Yeah, I think between the Leona and the Alistair, I would prefer to get rid of the Alistair. As you said, the Alistair makes Rise's machine gun magic just that much harder because you've got this giant Happy Meal just in your face the whole time, which you have to burn through. And then, of course, in the laning phase, Leona into Thresh, we've talked about it time and time and time again. It is much easier for the Thresh to manage a Leona better. So we'll see how the support for Secret does get locked in, but now they're hovering the Graves, the Jarvan will eventually be the decision for Crash.
Okay, and this makes a lot of sense when you look at the enemy champions Rascal Jester have so far. Orianna and Aphelios both have really big issues dealing with this pick, actually, because if you're trapped in that Cataclysm, no way out for either of them. Jinx can just outrange the pair of them with rockets. Gets very oppressive. Right now, though, we do have Rise as kind of the odd one out, as it looks like Rascal Jester will pick up that Camille, and I wouldn't be surprised if they pilled out a Galio support right here just to go on top with it. Find out what they end up going for, as it will be the Braum for the defensive option instead.
I really like that Braum. As you said, the defensive option here can dive in front of the Aphelios to make sure that the hook does not connect. And now, from the side of Sengoku, you've kept your, I assume, top lane a secret, although you could technically put the Jarvan up in the top lane. And now, as the clock ticks down, Sengoku are forced to reveal their master plan. You know, you see that they're picking it to hide something. Well, apparently they're hiding from themselves because they're blind as well.
Now the question is, which of these will have the solo lane matchups? It will be Orianna and Camille for Rascal Jesters versus, presumably, Rise and that Lee Sin. Now the question is, who's going to be piloting which out of the pair of them? Because these are both flexible. Rise is one of those champions that has had his time in the top lane, not recently been the most prevalent up there. Expecting Paz to be taking the Lee Sin. They've had a game or two on at this split. But even then, not necessarily what we were expecting when we were coming into this draft, saying, well, clearly Sengoku have a plan. They've chosen red side. They've been looking promising so far, off of yesterday. I'm not sure how I completely assess their plan today.
Yeah, I'm not so sold on this draft. Like, the Jarvan to me has always felt like the oh crap, I don't know what jungler to play, or oh crap, my jungler pool's been pinched away. I resort to the Jarvan. Because it's hard to go wrong with a Jarvan. Like, he's basically does he engages, he disengages, he does a little bit of everything. He's like the Thresh of jungle, except Thresh has something to offer to the team, while Jarvan is I'm a safe jungler. If I fall behind, I'm fine. If I get ahead, I'm fine. It's just sort of there. He's like a C tier jungler, right? Like he's not great, but he exists.
He definitely doesn't farm very quickly. What he does enable, though, is early ganks from level 2 onwards. When you have the Rise pairing, this is something that throughout League's entire history has been abused by mid-jungle duo time after time again. You get that immediate route from Rise, which has now been made so he has to get 2 abilities in, and then you have Jarvan just EQ onto them. It forces the flash level 2 from Recap, in this case, would be the recipient of that. There's something that we do need to keep an eye on and see where Crash decides to path, because if they don't go for that, they are losing out on a lot of the power that this pick particularly offers. As for setup elsewhere, it would require NT to land a pretty good hook level 1 or level 2 to try and actually fish for that. So it's going to be all off of where Crash is looking to start for their first camp to see which lane they're going to try and impact. The only thing I would say about this Lee Sin pick in the top lane is it does have pretty good champions to disengage. If somebody jumps at you, Camille or Xin Zhao with the ball, you want to boot them away. The only thing is if they're going to be quick enough to avoid Shockwave getting you before then.
Yeah, and I must say, all in all, both compositions, I like them better than what previous compositions we had. Mundo Jin. Like these compositions are pretty well rounded for the most part. And watching them basically butt heads is going to be the telling of, well, what are these teams actually planning? And I really hope we see like a Rift Herald into a bottom side gank and doing something for the Jinx. Because I cannot stand looking at compositions that draft the likes of a Jinx, this late game hyper scaling monster, and just sort of say, hey, I'll see you at 40 minutes. Like, it seems ridiculous. Give the Jinx some assistance, get some aggressive pressure down. The hell, do a roam play if you need to. Get Jinx at 3 items and win the game. Like, that's how you do it.
I get it, and I think looking at this one, part of the reason behind this Jarvan jungle pick that Crash has opted for is because every single lane has the ability to skirmish at pretty much level 2 onwards. Top lane, Camille versus Lee Sin, swinging that in your Lee Sin's favor is very important because we all know how disgusting Camille can be later. Bot lane will have to see when they start getting jungle attention, as it looks like we are heading into game for our 3rd of Super Week.
Yep, it's time to kick things off of our 3rd game to see how this is going to go. And remember, for Rascal Jesters, you could look at this game, as we mentioned before, as sort of a warm-up up against their quote-unquote real opponents. Because on paper, Rascal Jesters should win this without too many problems, right? But if they don't end cleanly, if the game starts to get self-dragged out, I see Gango has already prepared for the late game by starting with a cull.
That is a lane that does not want to interact with you. When you have a Thresh, there's no obligation, and one of the things that Aphelios usually likes to do is bully with their support in the early levels. The only thing is, it's a lot harder for Braum to be proactive in the lane. They really do need solid lane setup, and when you do have the cut down rune on the Jinx, by going with the Cull, you do have lower HP than your opposition, which means in the early laning phase at very least, before you do pick up a Doran's Item or otherwise, then you are going to be pretty fine. You will get some benefit from this rune that otherwise doesn't get a massive amount of value.
And I do quite like that they brought up the runes to show us that, because that then sort of, I'm not going to say justifies the purchase of the Cull, but explains why Gengo is willing to go for that kind of itemization. Because again, it's, as you said, it's the item that pretty much says, look, I have no interest in interacting with you in this bottom lane, and courtesy of NT's Thresh lock-in as well, there'll be no need to, as should be able to survive in that bottom lane, although I preface the word should, because we've seen bot lanes go very quickly out of hand when they should be just, farm lanes.
And we do have actually Ramune going for the Corrupting Potion instead of opting for the early tier or Sapphire Crystal. Does mean that they want to be trading in this early portion of the game, as we do have Crash going for a 3-camp clear on the top side. And I'm already starting to get sweaty waiting to see where he's actually going to gank, because we do need to see this Jarvan do things. They will not be able to keep tempo with the Xin Zhao, as we see he has already moved over and is barely spotted on this ward. If there's no flash committed, this gank shouldn't work.
Yeah, and Recap's far enough back that they should be able to work out. Wait a second, Recap instantly starts playing just a little bit differently. Oh my god, the flash in from Unune and the C train. Recap's not going to waste their summon spells, but falls for first blood.
But you knew he was there.
Yep.
Recap, hello? Why were you not just playing on the bottom side of the lane? A massive misstep right there, getting way too overconfident, just trying to waste time from the enemy jungler, punishes them getting first blood onto this Jarvan, starting the game plan off with, well, flying colors for Sengoku, despite having no right to get it off.
Yeah, it's a bit weird that Recap knowing the gank is there and standing back is fine. But the fact that, as you said, they were playing on the top half of the map here, and I'm not sure that Ramune's flash is worth the first bloody. Because you saw
he
it,
was
you
unspotted. He
knew.
was no, he was unspotted. They just
Was
pinged
it?
thinking he was there. It looked like he was on the ward because we have spectator vision, but no, he barely snuck through. Okay.
Ah.
Apologies to Recap. That was just a tragic play of the vision right there. That really did look like they spotted him, but the ward in the bush just placed a little bit askew, not finding them on time, as now Paz is getting ganked.
Yeah, but the instant TP from Ramune says, no, that ain't happening. We don't do that here. Thank you very much. And now Paz gets the full menu movement. What a good mid laner that is. Not only the TP up there to back up his buddy, but not even taking the minions. Like, I can tell you, any other mid laner, at least if you're playing my area, would just take the entire minion wave as like a payment for the teleport. As NT got hungry for something.
Ramune is a saint. The narrative for this entire split has been, and for the last split, that his team just doesn't play around him. He is just forgotten about, he has been left for dead for most of these games, and it means that the team never gets to play. We did see in the last playoffs, where they had a massive run from Sengoku, that it was this Rise pick that partially enabled them to do that. Get ahead and actually work with their team. And frankly, since coming back from the Super Week break, Sengoku have remembered they have a mid lane. The question is it too little too late, as right now, Rascal Jester are aggressing onto bot lane, but Gango and Enti getting the better end of it.
Yeah, but you gotta remember that when you're aggressing, well, your support's a Braum. Braum's entire identity is on the basis of, well, stand behind him, let him protect you. So it's very hard, I think, with a Braum, especially pre-level 6, to play aggressive. Without that Glacial Fissure, you just can't easily force a fight there because you've got to land your Q onto them, which means somehow getting past NT, getting onto Gango. It's just a bit of a mess there. So I like the attempt, but it's just not feeling it. But tell you what, also not feeling it, Crash. After first gank, great. But I feel like the second and third gank needs to start soon, Melvin, because otherwise, we talked about it, he's just not going to be able to match the pressure of Hachimecha on this more meta Xin Zhao. And alright, I regret my words. Look who's coming bot lane.
Yeah, they do have the Realm Warp potential on this Rise, always lurking, as it looks like Rascal Jester will just be allowed to leave. This should be Crash being able to secure the dragon. Rifttail not up for 2 minutes. It's going to be a crab for a dragon. I would definitely say that despite not getting any more kills off of that Sengoku, I'm more than happy, because you have to realize, Gango starting this cull means that if they're not interacted with, if they are not getting snowballed on, they're eventually going to have an earlier spike than Sol will on this Aphelios, even going up nearly 10 CS and plus in this bot lane. I believe some of that is actually down to wards as well, but regardless, it will be a trade of pressure with Rascal Jester repaying the top side, putting Paz down, and this is something that we need to be careful of for Sengoku, because you're down 20 CS in this top lane, and Camille is not only a monster, but a monster when ahead is unstoppable looking at your team comp.
Yeah, but part of the reason why Paz is behind is we did to see it on camera, right? We saw that Sengoku is playing around the bottom half of the map, and like a good top laner, Paz understands that, yes, I am in the position where I could be dived. Now, it doesn't matter that Hachamacha was in the position setting up for a dive. The fact that the dive could have taken place, because all your pressure was on the bottom half of the map, and he is willing to back it up, is a sign of a good top laner, because he knows that he's going to die if he stays, or should die if he stays, I should say.
It's just encouraging to see that Sengoku are starting to pull themselves together, but it is just the question, is it too little too late? Their strength of schedule is monstrous coming up. They have V3 to play later today. They have CGA and DFM next week. These are all teams that are in the upper half of the table. I know that CGA had a rough week today, but frankly speaking, this is something that they really not only need to step up, but they need to be climbing the mountain of this region if they want to pray for those hopes to make it into playoffs.
Hmm. And I think step one to that is smart decision making. And again, that's why I'm praising Sengoku, specifically Pads. Yes, he's behind in CS. We're seeing a trade on the bottom half here. Secret is taking a bit of a whack in, but the Braum Shield keeps him plenty healthy. But again, yes, being down 10 something CS sucks for Paz, as we're seeing Ramune Crash setting up for mid lane once again. But again, the fact that they're reading the map, they understand, hey, Crash is bot side and Dragon. Paz, back up because Hachamacha should be diving you right about now, is a brilliant sign for team coordination coming in the future. And we're seeing a play on the bottom side onto Secret. But again, you can't focus Secret. Gango needs to be careful there, as Soul is just going to cut down the support there. They targeted the defender, and the defender did their job damn well. As Crash is getting engaged on. Remember, Crash, you can't live there by any means, buddy. Got a flash over there once it's timed out, but it's not going to save you as Hachimecha picks up the kill.
Worst case scenario for Sengoku right there, losing the bot side, losing again on the bot side, and Crash earning the ult and the flash, not even getting the return kill.
Oh, what? Paz is down here, though. Will be going on for Soul as the primary target, finally targeting the AD carry, and Ramune on reinforcement duty means that they will both pick it up. And I mean, you talked about him being a saint. Well, I'm definitely feeling the prayer music now.
I will revert my words on the not getting a return kill, but they will end up losing the Rift Herald that they wanted to start and the play in the middle lane. So despite how that play finishes off, it definitely goes Sengoku favored, as they think with the level advantage they can burst out Secret here. But the power of Aphelios with these two guns, you really do need to be playing around it otherwise, as you see what happens. And watch this right here from Kanatu. It's so beautifully done with the flash ult, denies any chance for Jarvan to get away, knowing the speed of that ability to escape. Committing the flash, and it's even worse because they use the Cataclysm at the end, and it goes on cooldown. It's an old champion, they don't get a reset. Gango gets dived relentlessly, but fortunately the solo lanes do come down to save the day and at least stop that being a game-losing play.
Yeah, but they're just going to be, oh, never mind, as Crash and Paz forced to flee for even Recap joining the play on the top half. But what I was going to say on that bottom half is it's a worrying trend when I see an AD carry and their support just slam into a Braum Shield. Like, the Braum Shield's entire identity is based around, yeah, no, you're not damaging me through it. So to see Gango and NT really just not getting a good read on that trade is a little alarming, because I'm seeing future fights where they just throw everything into Secret again, and Soul does the exact same again.
The most encouraging part on that point is the fact that there's no big singular ability that you would want to land consistently. You can maybe argue the Jinx ult or a Thresh hook is something, but there's nothing that they are going to absolutely lose a fight by investing into the Braum Shield, as we will have Recap leveraging the range advantage they have over Ryze. This is a solid matchup to have, but the only thing is after that level 2 kill, Recap has really been in the back seat right now. They have got a CS lead, but that's because Ramune has been impacting the side lanes. These are just words we never fathomed we could say about Sengoku based on their initial weeks of the split.
Yeah, it feels weird to look at Sengoku and say, hey, Ramune's doing a lot of work around the map, because normally it's, hey, Sengoku's forgotten to have a mid laner. But now they're finally doing it. And I think part of it is that, again, we talked about this Jarvan's need to impact the game. Well, right now, sitting at a 1-1 and 0 score line, I really want to see Crash doing more ganks, and I think it should be via Ramune. Has the blue buff on the Rise. Rise has great crowd control and damage, even with just a lost chapter, basically, to follow up on a gank. But Paz is again forced away, man. This is one of the roughest games for Paz I think I've ever seen, as seeing a potential dive on the bottom side. Secret and Soul running for the hills. Cataclysm locked them at a place there. Soul is forced to make an ugly angle as there's no way past the Cataclysm wall. And Secret with the shield will escape alive, but forced to mourn the loss of his AD carry.
As currently collecting the mid wave because their top side is getting obliterated. This may even get a charge into the inhib tower, as it looks like they will escort it. Sengoku will return pressure with the Infernal Dragon, but unless Paz gets a good Q here, oh, barely misses it and will not be able to stop that charge. A lot of damage down to the inhib tower for that. Is going to be rough stuff. This will be Gango getting a solo tower with plates, though, which, again, is going to balance out the gold amount in this game. It's just the pressure
Hmm.
is completely mirrored between the teams. Top side for Rascal Jester getting a bit relentless, and then the bottom side for Sengoku. I mean, it's all reliable. Gango's always been the method that this team tries to win through. And you can see that they really do commit to that here with the TP instead of the Realm Warp to get in quicker. Completely
Oh,
blocked off right here. So nicely done. They only managed to get one, though. It isn't ideal, but the fact that they managed to return with a dragon and the bot tower at least puts them in a neutral spot post that play.
Yeah. But I suppose Rascal Jesters weren't to be outdone there, and specifically, you talked about the Camille went ahead. Well, I'd say it's fair to say that she is ahead. 1,000 gold effectively above the Lee Sin, and it's now in a position, especially in a long lane. What is Paz meant to do here? If Paz walks up and Kinatu is feeling it, or Hachamacha is anywhere on the top half of the map, that's a dead blind monk because he actually goes for a trade here. But yeah, I'm not so sure you win this, buddy. With the Divine Sunder in Kanatu's wheelhouse, I'm pretty sure Kanatu just straight up wins any fight they get involved in.
Well, you saw it right there on your screen. All Paz can do is kick him away because you really cannot handle this unless Ramune is on their way with a Realm Warp. There is no way you can match the damage of this Camille at this point in the game. And it really does require 2, potentially 3 people to hold him still. And that will be what Ramune is going for with the Everfrost on the rise. It is their favored pickup. Losing the shield from the Archangel's staff this season has made him a lot more squishy to deal with. It's been really unfortunate watching this champion try and convert.
Oh my lord, that's a lot of damage in Secret finally going down there. That is a waste of a stopwatch, buddy. I hate people who do that one. As Hachamacha is going to go down as well. The Gore Drinker buys a lot of space and actually is enough. No, never mind.
Okay.
Decides that there is no escape from him.
All right, well, I mean, it probably would have gone over to Gango, but you know what? Better safe than sorry this game. Sengoku in a slightly winning position, which they have not found themselves in for a while. And we have to just keep looking at and say, this is what Sengoku did last split, in the spring split. This team went from so low down and climbed up from week 4 onwards. This time it's week 6 and it may not be enough, but watch, they're trying at least. Secret being a victim to the standard play you get when it's CC plus Jinx, get womboed, and then I think that it's a bit overzealous from Hachamachi to think they can survive this. Ramune using the advantage of Rise being in the short range, and yeah, okay, you could debate whether the rocket would have killed them in time. The Crescent Guard was still up, kind of. Crash just hard commits there. Does mean they don't have that same access onto Solemn Recap from 2 screens away, but with a Thresh, you can still make it 1.5.
I mean, at that point, you might as well just ensure the kill goes over, as Gango was feeling confident, but again, if NT's direction nearby, no too big issues. As taking a look across the board here, nothing too odd when it comes to itemization here. The only one I think maybe is a bit weird is Recap going for the Luden's Echo instead of the Leandri's Anguish. But then again, this is the same thing you talk about the Ziggs, right? There's no tank. Why would you need a Leandri's? Oh no, Hachamachi is getting caught out again. It is a problem. Thankfully, Rascal's Secret is there if they wish to assist. And actually, Kanatu is feeling that one on the crash. Says, I'm locked in here and you here with you. You're locked in here with me. And I'm the corpse.
Yeah, Jarvan's not a very tanky champion. Since the Gore Drinker continuous nerfs at the start of the split, they haven't really been able to just get away with their standard Jarvan shenanigans of jumping in and soft being a tank because they can drain away. Is one of the main reasons you don't see this pick, and you have to wonder, has Crash got enough done in the early game for his team to actually be able to win this one? With 1 minute and 5 seconds before that Mountain Dragon, we need to see Sengoku and Rascal Jester allocate resources over here ASAP, as Ramune is just clearing the jungle. You like to see it, them and Gango picking up the farm because it doesn't do anything on Crash. A bit extra HP on the Jarvan, worthless. More damage on the Rise and the Jinx, absolute value. That's all you need, get them to early items. I like this from Ramune of pushing out the side lane, as it will be able to draw them some pressure. Would have been nicer if it was a slow push, but with Recap coming to collect it, it won't make much of a difference. As long as Gango doesn't get interrupted here, they should be back barely in time for the dragon. Oh, they're spotted though.
Yeah, it's spotted. And I think Gango is basically, should have the gold for what I'm going to assume is building into the rapid fire cannon. I have
Would
personal
look like
feelings on
it.
that one. Secret is getting caught out here, loses over half their health before anything really starts. And for the Braum, that's a real pain in the ass setup because the dragon's spawning now. You don't have time to reset, which is good because Gango can't reset and you're dropping the Reptiles as a distraction. But annoying because if Sengoku are feeling it, they could absolutely contest you.
Okay, they can definitely kill the Rift Tower before it collapses, but I don't think they make it to the dragon in time. The question is, do they commit to a fight after? They do have double Gore Drinkers, so they can buy a lot of time with Paz and Crash. Kanato looking. Who is on the front foot and who's on the back foot? Neither team really knows right now.
Oh, Nune's coming in for a flank there. Shockwave could be good though, because it's in a bit of a choke point. They're diving in on top of the Cataclysm, and now Sengoku realized, crap, we've got no more damage on back of that one because Gango was not involved in the dive. Finally, Gango gets excited. Django is going to slaughter everybody, but he runs first forwards with no vision. That is not how you play Jinx in this situation. Now Sengoku might be able to win this one fight. It's a very scary fight. NT is the only one surviving, and utter heartbreak as Gango throws themselves into the meat grinder.
Oh, it looked so promising. You had nearly done it, Sengoku. That could have been a massive swing fight. You would have been able to run down mid and take turrets. But it's just too little too late. Oh, my heart goes out to them right there. We'll see it in the replay in a moment, but it's just going to be a travesty watching as both teams are just kind of like stepping forward. They're like, we're relatively even in gold. Do we even want to fight? Are we favored in a fight? As soon as Kanatu doesn't get that stun, they're kind of wavering. And Crash gets a massive Cataclysm right here. As you can see it right now, onto the 2-person knock-up, 3-person Cataclysm. Ramune getting great DPS. And then on the top side of this fight, Enti and Gango are keeping themselves alive, buying so much time against Kanatu. And when they join the fight after, it's massive. But they run into Soul with so many crescendoms up. And because of the vision, Gango has to run in, but they face check the bush and just get obliterated. And look at the HP here. It's so close. If Ramune gets one EQ off, it's a triple right there, but it's not enough. And Rascal Jester come out with the dragon, the tower, and the kill advantage, putting this game back into an equalized state. Sengoku, though, fighting for their lives.
I know when you play Jinx, there is that desire when you get that first kill to just right-click forwards. Resist the urge. It kills you. As we can clearly see there from poor little Gango, suffering so we can all learn an important lesson today, Melvin. It's so heartbreaking because the idea was that could have been an entire team fight wipe for Sengoku, but Gango just got too excited, which is ironic given what he's playing, and didn't wait for his team to walk up forwards. You are still a squishy Jinx. You are still reliant on the damage that you provide from range. And, well, when it comes to Camille and Zinzao, when it comes to close range combat, I feel like the people with the giant spear and the scissor legs have a bit of an advantage over the person wielding like a 100-ton minigun or however heavy her equipment is.
Really is decisive when the fights get into that position. We have seen, though, that Gango and Enti can keep fighting against one of the divers out of Kanatu and Hachimecha. But can they handle both? I doubt it. That's why they have Paz to disengage. But frankly, disengage he cannot do for himself with 3 people on the bot. And it looks like Sengoku are forcing a Baron. Paz just needs to buy time.
Yeah, Paz gets out of there, says, look, I know you were trying to dive me. I know Hachimecha's down here. So good luck as Rascal Jester are on their way. Baron at 3,000 health is burning quickly. No, they're not going to make it. But how do they get out alive? Oh, the Realm Warp! Can they get out? No! Oh, Secret is a legend, and now Sengoku realized, crap, we're trapped in the pit. We haven't got a way out of here now. They are going to get slaughtered. Secret, you are a bloody legend.
No! It was right there! It's every time! Sengoku just loved to make me excited for a half second and then just disappoint. Oh god, it looked so good. The call was perfect. It was the right idea, but Ramune needed to get the hell out of there by running and leave the Realm Warp for his team. Oh, it's just a tragedy on the Rift. Every time Sengoku forced something, Rascal Jester just respond in the perfect way. And you're right, it is just all Secret. Because watching this, it's over. They've got the lead they need, and they can siege with Jinx, and it's disgusting. But it's only this Braum ultimate that knocks up Ramune. They get slowed, and that leads into the knockups. So they can't dodge away from it. Oh, it's just tragic, because if you get CC'd on the rise, you don't get the ult. and everybody just dies after it. It is two people walking away. They have managed to secure the buff, and they are
Oh,
sieging with it.
what? Soul's dead. Wait, is Soul dead? Soul's been hooked in here. Soul's going down. What did we return to? I'm going to assume NT did something because NT does not have flash anymore.
Okay, there is still the dragon spawning in 9 seconds. 2 members have the Baron buff, but it is your melee bruisers. They are the most susceptible to dying to Rascal Jester's comp. And it looks like they're going to seed mid-pressure and just run to the dragon. Hachimecha is alive. He has smite. He's in range. Keep your eyes on this Zinzao to see if they can flip it.
Yeah, but they got to be careful. They got to work around those flame trumpets, which is buying so much room. It's been quiet. Why is he on the front line? Why is the Rise on the front line? They will secure the dragon. And now Gango is free hitting from the back line. Their secret's going to go down there. Gango says, all right, let's see. Can I do this again? The Rockets are out dashing to the side using that flash, but gets jumped on and just executed. No protection for Gango. And unfortunately, by losing their AD carry, Rascal Jester just had to give up the rest of the fight. And that will be Sengoku fleeing for the hills as Kanadu could absolutely look for this one, but does not have the cooldowns available.
That does force soul point for Sengoku. They are still alive in this game. If they can get to that, that could be the critical juncture that stops this dive threat of the Camille plus Zinzao being able to kill Gango. You could see every single fight, he gets so low just being attacked. And if he gets that little bit of buffer time, his front line survives for just a second more, then they might be able to do it. As let's see how this actually kicked off. It was the Cataclysm into the Jinx rocket, just focusing them down. That was the flash right there from NT going in to guarantee the CC. Killing Soul before the fight. In a 4v5 though, Rascal Jester, you have to give it to them. They still managed to come out on top, trading 4 for 4 in net by the end of it. As Ramune is just playing Zona right here, trying to stop them getting to the dragon. And they do get it. They secure the objective, but look at this fight. Gango, the exhaust is too much. They don't get the reset until way too late. They start kiting around the side, but Hachimecha committing the flash. Very beautifully done. Watch this from Sengoku. They managed to return an extra kill, and in time, it does end up going in Rascal Jester's favor on the scoreboard, but that soul point is what matters.
Yeah, and that's putting Sengoku on a win condition. But Melvin doesn't look at the score. That is a problem. 5,000 gold, I should say, is normally a case where I look at this game and say, well, I feel like Rascal Jesters have just an unescapable kind of lead until I remember that Jinx has 3 items at 25 minutes. This is a real possibility that, again, if Gango is given the time to free hit, if Gango isn't being dived on by Kanatu and Hachimecha, it looks good. But they need to somehow survive.
And the only reason that Sengoku are allowed to stay in this game right now is because Ramune is still strong. If you look across the Rascal Jester top side, no tank. They are both just going for this standard Sterax plus a drain item, whether it be the Sunderer or the Gore Drinker. And that means no resistances between them because you can't lean too far into MR or Gango will rip you apart with the top side, and you can't lean too far into armor, otherwise Ramune will be doing true damage to you with an extra pickup. Which means you're in this really awkward spot where the damage portfolio is fine only because Ramune is in the game and doing well. If he was shut down, like you would have seen in earlier Sengoku games in the split, this would be hopeless right now. They are the one leveraging factor that is keeping this alive, because it means that those Ninja Tabby buys, anything else, the GAs, things like this aren't just dominating the game for Rascal Jesters. The top place team versus the second bottom team, it is so incredibly close, and with Baron up in a minute, it is only going to get more dramatic.
It has no right to be this, close. And again, how is it close? Because Rascal Jesters have allowed Soul Point to come up for Sengoku. The Jinx, the late game hyper carry, has 3 items, and I think important to note for the next team fight, a stopwatch, just to keep themselves a little bit safer, as teams are posturing around the Baron, spawning in 30-something seconds. And I get a feeling you could look for blood, especially because Soul isn't with the team right now. They're just getting their 3rd item, that big Infinity Edge now.
Right, this is something that people don't normally call out, but it's something that needs to be noted when you have a Thresh. Look at the inventories of Rascal Jester. The only wards present are on Secret and Hachimecha. That means if you engage with anything, unless it is a Camillo onto Gango, you can be lanterned away. You need one of them to be spamming wards onto that lantern, or Gango can be saved. So keep an eye out right here, as it is an attempted force from Rascal Jester, but it's just a dance right now. Sengoku want to wait until that objective spawns on the mountain, and then they can flip one side and force Rascal Jester to commit. At the moment, they don't want to have to lean either way, because they are happy if they get Baron, and they're happy if they get Dragon. Rascal Jester are going to be miffed either way.
Yeah, Rascal Jester, they don't want to give up either objective. I feel like, because if you secure yourselves, the oh god, Crash is getting potentially caught. Paz, though, was available as reinforcements. But if we're seeing, oh, wait a second, the grabs him. This could be massive, as it looks like Gango is in over the wall. This is a fantastic safe position, but there's no backup when they get jumped on. Kanatu kills him instantly, and Sengoku, no AD carry to look at there. The shockwave only lands on Paz, but Paz is not getting out of here live. Oh, actually, no, in mind, he does at the last moment. Very mobile, but Kanadu decides to take the life of Ramune instead.
Sol 1v5 in that fight right there, getting the massive Moonlight Vigil to end the game. I don't think that NT and Paz can stop it. A valiant effort that will be snuffed ever so close. The light of Sengoku is going out, as they will be pushed even further away to a near impossible state of making playoffs. Such a promising performance. So sad an ending, but it has to go credit down to Sol for that.
Sol made the final play of the game for Rascal Jesters here, and what an impressive showing on the Aphelios there. Not having the threshold protection, not having what you would say a safe setup, still made it work, still made it look good, even if it was only a Braum looking after them.
It was really that Bromo at the Baron. Oh, man. That game has taken it out of me. Let's give ourselves a minute to throw our notes together. We'll be right back with you with Temporal to break down in the post-game, and there is a lot to break down. I would say that is the best game of the day, and one of the most entertaining to watch of all the Super Weeks so far.
What a game for Sengoku, even though they fall in the end. That was oh so close to a fantastic performance. Congratulations to Rascal Jesters. They continue their flight at the top of the standings, but from top to bottom, the gap was not large there for Sengoku. Most importantly, let's start at the start of the game. Let's have a bit of a chronological recap, and then we can relive this tragedy for Sengoku, piece by dramatic piece, and we can just take mine and Melvin, especially's mental down just a notch further as we struggle with our love for this team. Sengoku picked up first blood in that game, Melvin, and it looked like the beacons had been lit.
It was so promising looking at it, thinking, okay, they barely snuck around the vision, right? It was so close to this game is just the closest to the wire I have seen for a long time. Of every single play was just the sliver of working. Like there was no 70% plays. It was all 55%. And that was one of them because the ward that Rascal Jester had in the bush didn't spot them, but it was so close to looking like it. We assumed that recap was ending because they are clearly playing the middle of the lane, but you know he's right there. But in the vision, when we got to see it toggled, it must have been a fraction. Like the character model, Jarvan, it's a good thing they went to Slimming World after a point, because the fact they snuck through there and got into mid to get that first blood was a miracle for Sengoku that they managed to snowball at very least a little bit off of.
Indeed, indeed. I know it caused you to just a moment of hesitation. I was like, hang on, this is right. But then the replay just gave it away that Crash had slipped in there undetected behind enemy lines and had blown open a mid lane matchup. Midnight, Sengoku's lane movement around the top side prevented a is Magic Man in the Sky, is this a clip of First Blood? Never mind. Let's carry on until we're ready to
Ooh,
talk
it's the
about that
fun
one.
clip though.
Sengoku's lane movement in the early game, particularly a teleport to the top lane, denied Rascal Jester's acceleration.
Yeah, and a lot of Rascal Jester was playing around topside. We saw so many times, Paz hiding in his tier 2 when the tier 1 was still up and available. He was like, I'm not going anywhere near there because I don't want to die again. And it's a pain that it was on the Paz because at least in felt like as the 5th pick, it did nothing. And part of that is the fact that Rascal Jesters chose to play around the top half of the map, and Sengoku were playing around the bottom half. So yes, it really hurts to be Paz in that game. And you could just say, oh, Rascal Jesters played the top side really well. They made sure that Paz wasn't allowed to play the game. But also Sengoku made that decision, right? They chose that the bottom half of the map was theirs to control, and they nearly got Elder Mountain Soul because of that one as well. So different battle plans.
Indeed, indeed. We saw a number of fights where Sengoku were really, really close to just blowing everything open, getting Jinx into a lane, ripping through infrastructure, and taking it over the line. It was that close in this game. Melvin, we've got a clip ready. It's a Baron fight. Do you want to take us through it piece by piece?
All right, so it's just a travesty right here where after that, one of those fights where they did not secure the Mountain Dragon, this is the perfect play to make, but you can't stand at the back of the pit because otherwise Baron could knock you up. And it's such a close window. If Ramune had started it a couple seconds earlier, you risk the not securing of the Baron. But because of when they started it, it allowed Secret to get in range, get that knock up, and interrupt Ramune's channel on the Realm Warp. This is one of those moments where you look back at it, and if they get the Realm Warp off, if they find that 3-second window, give or take, and find the right position in it, suddenly this game looks massively different. Rascal Jester would have had a full Baron reset, they could have run down mid, they could have run to bot lane, had the split push from Paz actually be notable, because with Baron minions, it's not much Camille can do against them. Lee Sin can act as a solid weak side against Camille because they can always boot them out. You can't actually get the Hextech Ultimatum to do anything to him. So you look at it and go, if Sengoku get that Baron, suddenly they could be cracking open inhibs on a single push with a Jinx. Suddenly it looks very different, and with that rapid fire cannon, they could have maybe even looked for a big ace into an end.
It's one potential future. It didn't happen. It was very sad. I'm not sure we have the clip ready, but Midnight, we had a fight you had very strong feelings about near one of the earlier dragons in the game, where Crash ended up going a little too deep to finish off. This was a real tragedy for me watching. We had a full pincer movement, hardest standard play to execute in League of Legends. On the lower side, we had Ramune coming in on his rise. We had Crash in the middle, diving deep on this Jarvan, locking up so many members of Rascal Jester in that Cataclysm. And on the north side, we had the Jinx ready to unload on multiple members of Rascal Jester. But Rise and Jinx were delayed just a little too far. Camille messing with the Rise, keeping them at bay. And then Sengoku's Jinx just held a little too far. Your feelings on that fight?
Yeah, look, my feelings is utter heartbreak. There's no other feeling I think you can have if you're a fan of Sengoku of how that fight played out because the start of the fight should have been Gango getting executed by Kanatu's Camille, but if you ever get to watch that play again, the flay from NT denies the hook shot, denies the stun, pretty much stops Kanatu in his tracks, and suddenly the Jinx 3 hits, nukes the Camille, gets a beautiful ult into a fishbone's auto attack to get the AoE and get the kills, and then Gango does what every Silver 4 Jinx main does. They just click forwards and pray. They stop thinking and they just click forwards. And it is the most heartbreaking thing to witness when a Jinx player, or someone playing Jinx, I should say, just stops thinking. I know this comes across as super toxic. I'm probably getting clips
I
somewhere, but
mean,
it,
I I think it
it's what
goes
it
even
is.
further. As a desperation, that play should have been a 100% win from Sengoku and just held a
Mm.
little too far away. We've got the clip. Melvin, take it away.
Have to look at one thing during this fight. Okay, when we have the moment after the fact, I just need to see what trinket Gango has, because as you see this play exactly as described, they get the kickoff on the top side, and it's just Ramune and Paz trying to disengage this Zinzao, and you get to see it in a moment, Gango flashing forward, and they lose vision because the bush isn't warded, and it has that control ward, which allows Sol to go off on one. The slivers here, but could we potentially pause at the very start of that clip? I just need to see what trinket Gango had. Because
Yeah.
when we were alluding to this one, we were talking about how they had been stopped
Oh,
facing.
it's
Is
not
that a blue
called down.
trinket? I think it's a
That
blue trinket.
It's a
no, that is a regular trinket on
Okay.
cooldown.
Okay, because the issue is, right, before this
If that was a
play,
blue trinket,
if it was a blue trinket, they win the fight. Because they
yeah.
can scry that bush, Gango doesn't need to run forward, and the game effectively ends from there because they ace, go down mid, get 2 towers, have infinite pressure for the rest of the game. And this game, it's a 55%er. The fact that Sengoku recovered so well in the 2 week downtime has to be heartbreaking for these players. They did it last split, coming back week 4 onwards, climbing their way up the ladder, managing to secure playoffs, getting into playoffs, having a stomp against CGA, taking V3, who made it to the finals, to 5 games, losing there. They were 1 game right then off of making it to effective finals because Rascal Jester didn't show up in that kind of form last split. Now we have it again where against Rascal Jester, they aren't able to get it done and keep their hopes alive. This team is a tragedy to watch in all the best ways.
The most theatrical performance for sure. Heartbreak, the theme of the day. The Sengoku Gaming fall to our first place, but only by the slimmest of margins. My last note on this game is Kanatu was smurfing just a little bit. The Camille performance, absolutely exceptional from Rascal Jester's top lane. How do you both feel about Rascal Jesters coming into playoffs? Is it just going to be a 2-horse race between DFM and Rascal Jesters? Complete flip of styles where Rascal Jester seemingly play through multiple options on the map, and while DFM do the same, currently it's the Aria show. Midnight, how do you think these two match up as we look towards our next game?
I think it'll be I'm not going to say the words far more even game because I feel like Rascal Jester in this game, because Rascal Jester aren't afraid of their playoffs, right? I feel like this game was okay, let's warm up and let's. I'm not going to say mess around, but I don't think they tackled this game to the level that will see them tackle DFM. Because this match is bottom of the table, Sengoku, let's just have a bit of fun. It was far too close than it had any right to be. But if Sengoku did win this game, would we look at Rascal Jester and say, "Hey, this is a garbage team now"? No, I don't think we would. So this game against DFM, I expect a higher quality of play, and it will get us a far better read on Rascal Jester's macro movements because my mechanics shouldn't be an issue at this point. It'll be a problem of can you read the map against a team like DFM, who is also very proactive, as we know they are more than willing to dive your bot lane if you leave it unguarded.
Melvin, your feelings on Aria Show Supreme versus the Kanatu Pummel Party?
I think that taking a look at our next matchup between these two teams, it's something that will be the fever pitch of Super Week, seeing these two face off against each other on the Rift. And part of that comes down to Rascal Jester came into today, and this was their warm-up game. If this is the warm-up, they have to be coming into next game on form, and it's just the question of does it exhaust them because of how hard they had to fight to take that 1 game right there. over Sengoku. So it's really just leaving me thinking, what strategy will they possibly want to pull out? Because next game is such an important one because it's the one time before playoffs that these teams will get to effectively play against each other. Because usually, when you expect to be facing them in playoffs, you don't scrim them, you scrim other teams. So this is the time for both of them to either decide, let's lean back, not do anything that we want to, keep hidden, or let's go full force and see if we can actually blitz this team in prime form. Because DFM want to keep that win streak going, and Rascal Jester have been taken to the limits today. Let's see if they can do it again next game.
What a world in which Sengoku Gaming is hard to play against as DFM. We look to Rascal Jester versus DFM as the preview likely of the Splits finals. That's my opinion, at least. Both these teams on form right now and playing some of the best League of Legends from around the world. We're going to go to a quick break before we go over to that last game, gentlemen. Anything else we want to add at this stage?
No, I think I'm good. Sengoku
Yeah.
have broken my heart effectively at every stage of the split in new and creative ways. I was warned by the original three,
Yeah.
and you know what? I take my recompense, but it was definitely worth the journey. I believe it's Initialize and Nymera who get to take away this godlike matchup next game.
Midnight from yourself.
I mean, do I have to get the
You're
coin out?
not even on board the Sengoku train, and your heart's been broken, buddy. Like
No,
it's so
I'm
sad.
on board. I witnessed games like that, games that all you can say is what could have been. Jinx, I re-looked over the play with Gango. Gango could have gotten a pentakill.
Yep, it was his
Straight
play.
up if he didn't run first into that. Hawks could have stalled the game out if they got the Baron and got out of there alive, but they didn't. The what ifs are the most heartbreaking things in League of Legends for me because you just look at it and say one thing different, one minor adjustment, one change decision. What could have been a Sengoku win is just crushed and just put down.
And on that note, we look to Rascal Justice to do it again. That preview of finals potentially coming up real soon. Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. We're going to cut to a break and we'll be back with Initialize and Nightmare to set up the clash of Titans from Super Week.